Guys, welcome back to Carsonian Beans. We have another Thursday night recap here for you. And before we get started, I just have to say thank you guys so much for 100 subs. I know it's a very small number, but I'm very, very grateful. It's taken a pretty long time. I'm just really glad for all the support I've been getting recently. There was a point wherever at the beginning of this year, I went 3 months where I didn't gain a single sub and I was losing subs like at a consistent rate. Like I went from 62 subs to 56 subs in 3 months, which I know isn't much, but it was still pretty bad for me back then. And that was because I was doing gaming content. I switched over to football content. Now I'm getting lots of good comments. I'm consistently getting subs, and it just feels really good to know that people are actually enjoying my content. And again, I know it's only 100, but it feels really, really well to know that, at least somebody watches me, and that really does, boost me up every day. So today, we're going to talk about a pretty surprising Thursday night game, in my opinion. The Jaguars went to play the Dolphins, and after seeing them play really, really well over the past 2 weeks, really blowing out my expectations, definitely playing, in my opinion, better than the Dolphins these past 2 weeks, I really expected this to kind of be a pretty big win for the Jaguars. I expected this to, because a lot of people probably still, they did, and they probably still do now after the game, but they probably did think that the Jaguars are in the same league as the Dolphins. So I was kind of thinking that this would be the game where they, get the statement win, they go 2-1, and then they kind of get put out of the league of the Dolphins. But no, the Dolphins go there and they beat the Jaguars by 18 points, 31-13 yesterday. I wouldn't have been surprised on like Thursday before the game. I wouldn't be surprised if the roles were switched. If the Jaguars had won 31-13, I think actually, I don't remember the exact score, but I think that's pretty close to what I had in my predictions. Actually, maybe it was like 30-17 or something in the Jaguars' favor. But I really thought that this would be a big game for the Jaguars. But we're going to talk about that. Ryan Fitzpatrick, last week, they only lost by 3 to the Bills. Ryan Fitzpatrick had a really good game. He held his own against a really strong Bills defense. And we've seen him go back and forth. Sometimes he's really good. Sometimes he plays really bad. He's Fitzmagic. Sometimes he's terrible. He's had 2 good games in a row. He had 18 out of 20 passes completed. That's the highest passing completion ratio, whatever, in Dolphins history. Over 160 yards, 133 quarterback rating, and this is 2 weeks in a row. And if he keeps this up, then they will definitely get some wins before they put Tagovailoa in there, because I have no doubt that eventually Tagovailoa will be in there. But I have a feeling that Fitzpatrick is probably going to end up starting for a different team sometime in the future. The Jaguars, though, Gardner Minshew, no touchdowns, 1 interception, 30 completions out of 42 attempts. He did have 275 yards, but still not a terrible performance, especially from some of the stuff that we saw at the end of last year. He was pretty terrible. It was a pretty okay performance, but definitely nothing close to the really great performances he's been putting up in the past 2 weeks of this season. James Robinson, though, we've seen him been really well on the ground. He's been a great rusher. This game, he kind of took off in the passing game. He caught 6 receptions for 83 yards, 13 yards per catch. And also rushing, he did get 2 touchdowns, but only got 46 yards. So he got a couple touchdowns rushing, and then they let him be in the passing game. He had a couple big plays there. He looked pretty well. James Robinson is definitely the future of this team. He's a rookie, and he'll definitely be on there for the next couple of years. And I'm excited to see what he can bring to the table here. And with Gardner Minshew playing really well and James Robinson, they look to be a really good team. But if we've seen a lot of times where teams will play really well for like the first 2 to 4 games and then they've completely fallen off. Is the Jaguars gonna be like that? Are they gonna end up going like 5-10 where you'll look back and say, how did they, play really well their first 2 games? They won their first one, and then they, came really close to beating the Titans in week 2. It really feels like a win whenever you think about it. To go on 5-10, will it end up something like that? We don't know, but also, I don't really know what to say. That was about it. The Jaguars defense really not holding. They allowed 31 points to the Dolphins. Devontae Parker had a really good game, 69 yards, 13 yards per reception. So I just had to throw my notes over there. So yeah, Dolphins, y'all look good over these past 2 weeks. If y'all can hold it up, I guess you could say that they always have been playing this well, but they were playing against the really good Patriots defense, which makes no sense, but you can kind of see where I'm coming from. The Patriots have one of the best defenses. Actually, that makes no sense because the Bills have one of the best defenses. Whatever, but you could say maybe they just had an off performance. They're going up against a really good defense in week 1, and then they're starting to pick up momentum. And I'm not saying that it's 100% going to happen, but if I mean, if they're planning on putting Tagovailoa in, I mean, they're obviously, I don't think they're going to put him in anytime soon, but if they're putting him in like past week 10, and Fitzpatrick plays like the way he's been playing these past 2 weeks and all the rest of the weeks, he could have them in a position to where Tagovailoa could take them into the playoffs. It's probably not going to happen. He's really, really inconsistent, one of the worst inconsistent players. I mean, he's had really big highs where he's almost beaten the Bills, one of the best teams in the league, where he's beaten the Jaguars, who looked like a pretty good team, and he beat the Patriots with Tom Brady last year. He has had some monster games, and then he's had games where he's been absolutely terrible, one of the worst quarterbacks we've ever seen, worse than Josh Rosen, worse than any bad quarterback you can name. He has played terrible. Worse than them. But if he can just figure himself out, he's a veteran and he still is inconsistent. But if he somehow, after all these years, can figure itself out, then maybe, just maybe, he can have a career in some other team. I don't know where I was going with that, but we'll see. I was saying, Fitzpatrick is one of the weirdest quarterbacks I think I've ever seen inconsistently. Anyways, we will have tomorrow we are coming out with my power rankings. Then actually, just so you know, on Sunday I normally have this thing where I go through and I just kind of rant about the Washington game that happened because I'm a Washington fan. That's not going to be able to happen this week. I'm going to be out of town. I think I'll be able to watch the game this Sunday, but the video of me ranting about the game will probably come out just before or just after my weekly recap. So be looking out for that on Monday. And yeah, we have a lot of stuff coming. We do this kind of stuff every week. I'd be very, very happy if you subscribe. If you're a football fan, this is probably a pretty good channel for you to watch. We're posting every single day of the week, twice on Saturday, because I post a part 1 and a part 2 to my power rankings just because they're so long. In my description, you'll find a link to my Twitter and a link to my Instagram. I don't post on very, very often, but when I do, I'd be very grateful if you could look at that. Twitter is a lot of posting about my channel, and also I'm going to start posting, like, if I'm watching a game, I'm going to sit there and I'm going to, tweet about it, like what's happening. Instagram, though, it's just mainly, it doesn't really have anything to do with my channel or anything. I'd just really be grateful if you went ahead and followed those. Yeah, thank you guys so much for watching me ramble on. Bye. I hope to see you in the next one. In fact, I better see you in the next one. Or else.